That's pretty good.
Isn't that perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to remember that for when we're amongst similar company. Dennis, it's been way too long since we have chatted.
I know. So much has happened, too. So much has happened.
I have lots of stories as well, but you're free to kick it off if you'd like to start.
Well, yes, I'm officially out of quarantine today. I have had my first bout of COVID.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah, I wondered, whether I would escape it altogether. And ironically, I caught it just 2 days before my scheduled booster, which may or may not have boosted me. I don't know, but I was in an airport, so pretty
Indeed.
sure. But I knew that I had it because I had gotten boosted and had felt the symptoms. And I was watching a little tube last Thursday. I returned from fishing last Sunday from my annual fishing trip, and
Right.
I think I sent you all the pictures, right?
I got a lot of pictures of some ugly fish and some white dudes.
Ugly
those
fish
the ones?
or ugly men, or both.
Well,
And
neither were smiling.
returned on Sunday, then went fishing locally on Thursday. Was feeling like a little sniffly on Wednesday. Woke up Thursday and thought, I don't feel all that hot, but I'm ready to go fishing, so I'm going to go fishing. So
Yeah.
I drove 2.5 hours, had a
Very
great
manly of
day,
you.
great day of fishing,
Yep.
and came back and woke up the next day, and Nikki said, "You don't sound good." I said, well, I got a cold. I got a cold officially. I have a sniffly cold. I'm laying on the couch, and all of a sudden, bam, I got like all the symptoms of COVID in like 1 minute. It was so strange. 1 minute I didn't have them, and the next minute, achy body, heavy cough.
Heavy onset COVID.
And then I tested and came positive, and called my wife and said, "Hey, you
Stay the hell away
insist-
from me.
I don't know, when you walk in the house, there's sliding doors that separates one half of the first floor from the other half of the first floor are closed, and they will be for the next 5 days." So I had I had the big screen TV, the couch, a bathroom.
Oh, you poor babe. Oh, you poor thing.
Access to food. I interestingly,
You
I
didn't
never.
You never thought to give her the good side of the house.
Well, I gave her the bed, and she's got a TV upstairs.
Well,
But I never spiked a fever, never lost my appetite, just got real coffee, lost my breath for a couple of hours, and was thinking, this is really uncomfortable. If this gets much worse, I'm going to have to let somebody know about it. Because it was like,
can you move your camera down or something?
oh, I'm sorry.
For our Patreon subscribers that get to the
Who has access
video
to
feed. Yes.
Right.
And so I can see your glorious.
But anyway, got a couple of fishing trips in. I had a great day on the Pierre Marquette. I finally scored some lunkers up there and fell in the river and
scored some
didn't
lunkers.
float too far.
Let's investigate this phrase. You scored some lunkers?
Yes. Scored some lunkers.
Were you sore afterwards?
I was sore after I scored. Yes. It was
what's a lunker?
a lunker.
Yes.
It's a big fish. A lunker.
Okay.
Oh man, that's a lunker. Wow, that one's heavy. Lunker.
Okay.
You don't know that word, huh?
And scoring means capturing and then releasing.
Yes, actually, capturing, as you would say, we would say catching a fish instead of capturing a fish. But you're a child of the terrorist generation. So.
with the fishing stick, yes.
We captured the fish, interrogated it, and then promptly let it go.
Can you waterboard a fish?
No, you can airbore a fish.
Airboard. Okay.
Yeah, you blow air out up its
nose,
through its gills, nostrils. Fish don't have nostrils. blow her out its gills until it starts admitting where the eggs are kept. Had a fine day. Didn't see another fisherman. I'll actually send you some pictures. I saw literally thousands of fish in the river.
Wow.
I threw into schools of 20 fish that were sitting there literally like, shall we say it, fish in a barrel. And
were they lunkers though?
They were lunkers. In fact, there was one, you don't understand this lingo, but there was these are kings, particularly female kings, hens as they're called. Female kings are
Aren't there queens?
Laying their eggs. No, hens.
Okay.
Right? No, kings. Kings.
Hen kings.
And the other fish that are in the river swim behind the female salmon because they're laying their eggs.
They swim or they swoon?
They swim.
Okay, got it.
And then when they sit behind them and they eat the eggs. So you'll see a big fat hen sitting in the water, and right behind it will be a beautiful fresh steelhead, which, as you know, is a rainbow trout that lives part of its life in the lake.
Yes, we all know that.
You knew that. Of course you knew that.
Yes.
And I saw them, and that's what I was really after. That would have been a prize. I never did.
So
I hooked several.
The salmon ladies are there laying their eggs, and the other fish are just like there downstream, just with their mouths open, like
Yep.
Yeah, give me some of that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. Male comes by and squirts its white milt all over the eggs, and it's quite a.
I mean, if the eggs ever are not the ones that are consumed by the steelheads sitting
obviously
directly behind the
and of course you've
hen
got
king.
moving water, you've got moving eggs, you've got moving milt. So much like the odds of impregnating a human,
Yes,
you've
with
got to have
milt.
an awful lot of sperm to make sure, because most of them don't make it. Most of them die and they're swimming. And these eggs aren't swimming. These eggs are just hanging around. You catch a female, and as you're holding it up to take a picture, eggs will be pouring out of it.
Her, please.
Well, her, yes.
I mean,
not it. That's
if they have. I mean, it might be a transgender salmon. We don't know. They.
It could be.
Yeah, we don't want to be.
Identify. Don't ask.
Right.
I mean, just
don't ask a salmon their pronouns.
No.
Don't.
They'll let you know if they want you to know.
Right. So
that's it for me, man.
When I go to the restaurant and I order salmon roe, that's probably eggs that have been squeezed out of a captured king hen.
Well,
right. It's probably not. It's probably not collected from the water, right? Yeah. It's probably
correct.
Excised from a
salmon farm that is going to, in this case, actually capture the fish. Yeah, it's true. I mean, they would capture it. They wouldn't catch it. The catching it would mean they hooked it. They're not hooking it.
Right. And then they
airboard it. Oh, I tell you one story about this that's a good image. So I'm in the river, and it's rainy day, which is fine by me, rainy and cold. That's why there were no other fishermen. I was alone on this gorgeous river.
Look, if you're going to be wet already, you're going to be cold and wet already. So
right.
Bring on the rain.
And it's pristine. And this 8 miles of this 50-mile river, which is one of the few rivers in this part of the country, and the longest river in this region that doesn't have a dam on it.
Doesn't give a damn.
It doesn't have a dam to give.
I have a question. Do the fish behave differently when it's raining?
I don't know enough about the behavior of fish. All I know is that I was catching them before it rained, while it hailed.
Hell yeah.
So I'm in the river and the rain is coming down. It's a torrent. And I'm thinking, well, that's okay. I'm fishing. I'm hooking fish. You're in the river. You don't really notice it that much. You just put your hoodie up,
Right, yeah.
And the rain, I thought, wow, this rain is really pelting me. And
Yes.
I look and I see that it's actually not raindrops anymore. It's tiny hail. And I said, well, what the hail? And soon, though, the hail grew larger in size, as it often does. It was going on for minutes, many minutes.
Yep.
And it became the size of a 3-ounce lead, which if you had a dime in your hand, you'd have looked at the head of Jefferson on the dime. That's about the size of these hail.
Pretty sure Jefferson's on the nickel, but nice try.
Who's on the dime? I'm pretty sure it's Jefferson.
Hamilton, maybe. I don't know. Well,
I don't
it'll
think
be in the show notes.
No, it's a George Washington's on the nickel, bro.
No, George Washington's on the. Fuck! It's Lincoln on the penny. George on the nickel. All right, whatever.
It's Jefferson on the dime, and it's an odd shot of Jefferson because he actually looks like he's got short hair. But anyway, large enough
so was it
that it was pelting me so hard that it started to hurt. And because I'm not wearing gloves, the gloves I wear don't have any fingers in them, and those had gotten wet, so I just stowed them.
Bad gloves.
And it wasn't all that cold. It was about 40, and it started hurting my hands so bad and I couldn't get out of the river at that spot.
How deep was the water?
Pardon?
How deep was the water?
Where I was standing was a little lower than knee deep.
So it wasn't hail and high water. It was.
No.
Okay.
No. Which actually going into higher water offered me some more protection. Right. But so what I did, I couldn't get out of the river because if I could go upstream or downstream, but as soon as I got out of the river, I was on private property. Ugh. And the private property I was on was a guy that I'm pretty sure threatened to shoot me with his rifle once. So I did what you might say I hunkered down.
Nice.
I literally bowed my back and put my hands underneath my gut, and I couldn't fish for just a few minutes. When it stopped, all the pockets in my fishing vest were full of hail, which doesn't melt like snow. It's much sturdier.
I'd like to coin the term that what you did was you turtled.
That's not a bad analogy, actually. I did turtle. It was a simile, actually, not an analogy. Because I bowed my back like a turtle, so I turtled, so that'd be a simile.
Right.
And I wanted to take a picture, because here's the image. You've got this, looks like, the size of a 3-ounce lead hail coming down, like torrential.
Yeah.
And every place it hit the water splashed. So when I looked upstream or downstream, it looked like stalagmites.
Yep.
Coming up out of the water, and it was the weirdest sensation. That's felt like cool. The river was raining upside down.
Whoa.
I said, honey, you make me feel so strange.
You were a turtle.
Make me feel deranged.
On your back.
Like the river's raining upside down.
Yeah. Wow.
You might say stalactite, but I say stalagmite. Oh, I felt so weird with the rain was coming down. So it was, and then it stopped just suddenly.
Rain
And
tends to do that. Yeah.
the sun came out. So by then I was exhausted. I'd probably hooked into 20 fish by that time. I was only there an hour. I hooked into 20, landed one, and decided to climb out. And I've ended up at the spot that I intended to go. On the way up, I said, I know right where I'm going.
Right.
But there were so many fish in the river that it took me a long time to get there because I was fishing all along the way. When I got
There's
there,
so many fish in the river. That's what they always say.
oh my God, man! It's this beautiful patch of non-posted land with grass and logs to sit on, and a clear view of the river. And the river is 20 yard a place where it's 20 yards by 50 yards with no trees over it.
Wow.
And it's all gravel bottom, and that's what
Nice.
the fish want to spawn on is gravel.
Gravel bottom blues.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I stayed there. I literally was in the river, in the middle of the river, so I could fish either way, and fish were all around me, bumping into my legs. And these are big fish. I mean, it took 10 minutes sometimes to land one, but I was pretty good at it.
When the river was so flush with them that they were bothering you physically, it was hard to catch one.
Well, it didn't bother me, but we were interacting. Let me put it that way. I mean, I walked into areas where I wasn't kicking them out of the way, but
right.
I was walking, and they were.
Were they trying to milt on you, or?
No, none of them milted on me. Not like a dog would climb up on my leg and hump me. Not that kind of thing, which I'm sure you would hope for if you were fishing. Oh God! I mean, I wonder when a male will come over and milt me. I knew a guy named Milt, and I said to him, "Wow, you have such nice pale skin."
This is a brand new word to me. I assume it's a noun and a verb, but I just verbed the noun, so I don't know.
Well, the noun is the milt, and the action is the milting, I would assume. I mean, that's what I've always used it. But
okay.
But it's very strange to see the milt because they fan their tail like they're sweeping. And they're fanning and milting all over the eggs, which are scattered far and wide.
I mean, you got to spread your boys, right?
It's sort of like, it's not like the ejaculation of a man, kind of pointed. Unless, of course, the man pulls out and sprays. There's a funny outtake from, did you see Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell? And
I've seen it, but it's been a while, yeah.
So there's these outtakes. No, it wasn't from that. Where, anyway, he's talking about now he knows how they felt Vesuvius because his ejaculate was so massive.
Oh God!
Paul Rudd was. You hear a little noise. We have a little grandchild here.
I hear that.
She's at the end of her day. Paul Rudd couldn't stop laughing. Will Ferrell was so funny. It's worth seeing.
The other day, I pleasured myself to the image of Mrs. Buttersworth. She got me there like I was on the Express A train. Bing, bang, boom. Talk about a river of ejaculate. A volume I had never seen in my lifetime. Now I know what the villagers of Pompeii felt like. Now I know what those sad villagers of Pompeii felt like. Except where they were rained down on hot lava, I rained down on those villagers with frothy ejaculate.
Can you imagine having dinner with those two? Jesus.
No, I can't. Will Ferrell's about the funniest damn man alive to me.
Yeah.
So besides that, and launching into give you a little homework now, we'll get it out of the way. Read up on a series that ended in 2019 called The Affair. I've been seeing it and wondering about it. I thought, well, I'm bored. I got the COVID. I can't do anything but lay around. And oh, look who's in it. Maura Tierney. Oh, Lord. I love that actress after just seeing her in American Rust.
Yes,
love that.
She was a crush of mine on ER.
Oh, was that where she was? I never watched TV much, television shows, but
we know what TV stands for. Thank you.
She is just television shows as opposed to movies or series.
Yeah, I have never heard of this. Although,
oh my God,
the top actors are like all like known faces to me.
And to tell you how hooked I was. At one point, every ending was like, oh my God, I gotta see. Plus, where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. And plus, it's like, who cares how late I'm up? I'm on the couch all day. I can barely, move around very much. I looked at the watch. It was 4:00 in the morning. I'd stayed up all night.
Hey, when you sleep from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., what are you going to expect? Like, that's
right.
Like you can get, especially if you're isolated and in this sort of like body recovery,
and nothing to do.
Fight, boredom.
No,
you can
either that or read a book.
You can get into these cycles where you lose your circadian rhythm and you wake up and do crazy things in the middle of the night. But yeah, this is interesting. So
this is the thing I want to tell you is that you have talked to me about this theory, not a theory or
I have lots of theories. Yes.
A factor where when you remember things that you don't remember them accurately. And the research, as you probably know more than I do, shows that you tend to remember things that put you in a positive light. So let's say that when you were a child, that you were in a restaurant and another child was choking and it was pretty crazy and you had something to do with it. Let's say that you were helping somehow, but in your memory, years later, you're the one that was, slamming your hand on the back of the child or holding the child upside down. And actually, that's not what happened. You were just there. There's a term for it you've used before, and I'm drawing a blank on it. I meant to look it up before
I remember me saying this because it sounds like I'm in a positive light. So, sure, that sounds like the sort of thing that I would say.
But it's not a syndrome.
It's a bias.
It's a what?
Bias would be the word.
Yeah, but there's a term for it. But anyway, I was thrilled when I read the review because it's a term you used.
Yeah.
And you've asked me questions before about like the Wizard of Oz. What did she say, or this or that? And it's this common misperception. That kind of thing. But this is why you're going to love this, is because you love this part of it too. Every show, like there's 60 of them, there's 5 seasons, 10 to 12 per season. Every episode has part 1 and part 2. And it's the same information from the perspective of the character that is the title.
That is my jam. That is my jam. Yes.
See?
I just did a quick search. It's called the Mandela effect. It's the phenomenon where you misremember. So let's get the actual definition.
Well, and you misremember it.
Well, the Mandela effect is false memories shared by multiple people. So that's
not what this is.
Yeah, okay.
This is a different thing. And in fact, the first review I Googled, I didn't Google, I spoke into my phone and I said, alternative perspectives, the affair. And this thing came up that I thought, oh man, this is classic Erik here. And it talked about how when you do misremember, you're misremembering it in a way that puts you in the more positive light.
Yes.
And so what's interesting about this and makes it a whole lot less boring than it would be if it was the same exact storyline, people are remembering lots of things differently about it. What was said, where they were, how they were dressed. And it's great to notice that, you know. And in some cases, it's so wildly different. And it because the series is a main character's fabulous actor, who's a novelist. When he writes his novel, one of his novels he's writing, one of the people who's a character in the novel said, I read this passage, I can't believe that you made it up that way. And he said, what do you mean? That's a true life, that's autobiographical. That's what happened. And she said, no, that's not what happened at all. And he said, sure it is. And it reminded you of many, many episodes before when that event actually happened. And you realized when you saw his version of it, how different it was from her version of it. And that's what he wrote about in his novel. And it was much more erotic, and she was much more, erotic. I'll just leave it at that. But you're going to love it.
God, this is, and on the Wikipedia page, they have this like table of which seasons are from which character's perspective, which is kind of wild. But it definitely goes with what you're saying. Man, this is the kind of show that like one needs to pay close attention to.
Well, and because the actors are so fabulous and there's so many episodes, after you've seen it, I mean, I'm yelling into the TV last night. No, Cole, don't.
Yeah.
Oh no, Cole, don't do that. No, man.
Yeah. Cole is Joshua Jackson, who I love from when he was a teenager.
He is so stellar. Well, the whole thing is stellar.
Yeah.
It's just stellar.
Okay, interesting callback to a show. So, let me tell you about what's been going on in my life. So, the first Friday in October, they celebrate in my wife's hometown. I must have mentioned this to you before, but maybe not. They have this festival where it's called Maritxu.
They carry the statue?
Well, so Chu is the Basque diminutive. Like if I were to call you Dennis Chu in Basque, that would be like, oh, my little Dennis. It's that sort of suffix. And Maria, of course, is, the Virgin Mother. And so they have this little statue of a Virgin Maria in the church, and they call her Maritxu. And this festival is, I probably went the first time 20 years ago, but it was fairly new back then. So maybe it's 25, 30 years old. They have this thing where everyone in town, especially the younger people, get dressed up in their finest clothes. They wear their nicest dresses and their suits and ties, but like the whole town gets dressed up to the nines. And there's this one ceremony in front of the statue where everyone gets together, and it's so tight. For me, it's super uncomfortable to be that tightly packed with so many other people. And they all at the appropriate time, they like light some pyrotechnics, and they all sing a song that my wife translated. That's something along the lines of, "Where are you going, Mary?" And Mary responds, "I'm going up to the fountain, Bartholomew," who is apparently the first speaker. And Bartholomew says, "What are you going to do up there?" And she says, "I'm going to drink wine." And that's the end of the song. It's sort of like a Jack and Jill, but like getting drunk.
Mary and Jesus went up the hill to drink a big glass of wine.
Yeah. That sort of thing.
So Mary, the Virgin Mother, is saying that she's going up the hill to drink wine.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
I've never heard a story actually, now that I think of it, of any saint that was involved in alcohol in a positive way.
Well, I mean, Jesus changed water to wine.
Well, that's true. There's
plenty of wine.
Well. And
the blood.
At the request of Mary. So now we're on to something. She's a lush. That's what it was. She got drunk. That's how she got pregnant.
I mean, drink this blood.
Some old man carpenter gets her drunk, and next thing you know, she's pregnant, and
it doesn't remember the.
No, not me.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that.
I know what I'll do. She says, "I know what I'll do."
Just pretend you're a virgin. Anyway, that's right up there with the spider monkeys at Jesus' birth. But
that's right.
The episode 1, baby. And then they all sing because we're in the Basque Country. They all sing, "Madrid is burning, let Madrid burn. Madrid is burning, let Madrid burn." Because it's the oppressive federal government.
Oh, Madrid's the capital, and so they're going to douse it with wine.
Well, or something. But they're just happy that the capital is burning because they're separatists.
And Mary's involved in that too. So the Virgin Mother is engaging in what could otherwise be known as terrorist activity, but she's
just there. She doesn't initiate any of this. She's just sort of a statue.
She's the one who said, "Let's go up the hill and get drunk."
Well, those are words placed into her mouth by the crowd. Circumstantial hearsay.
I'd tell you, that's what she wants you to think. It's an old trick of the deity.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. But
she's not actually in the deity, I suppose.
Well, anywho, so it's this huge festival where everyone gets super fucking elegant, and like I put on a suit and tie, and my wife and daughter got dressed in an elegant gown, and we went out for an evening, and round about 2:00 when we were out dancing in the cobblestone square, I looked down and the sole of my shoe had come off because that's just how hard I dance.
There's got to be something about that. The sole of your shoe.
Yeah, I lost my soul. I sold my soul to...
You lost your soul. You dance so much, you lost your soul.
Right, exactly. So...
Be careful. Be careful.
Indeed. So I sort of hobbled back to... Luckily, the place where we were staying at my sister-in-law's house was like 100 yards away. So I went back and I changed into sneakers so I could continue. And later the following week, when I took my shoe into I have a local cobbler that like fixes shoes.
Of course you do. It's Spain, right?
Like they are a dying breed. They are in their 60s, and when they retire, there will be no more cobblers. Like they have no apprentices learning their craft.
Are they actively looking? This could be a way for me to make money.
Look, so these two cobblers, I don't think they're brothers, but they spend all day together in this place that smells like shoes and leather. And they have the best music in there because they listen to deep South American blues all the time. Every time I go in there, I'm like, damn, you guys like jam out to the best music in here. No one else in Spain is listening to American blues that much, but they do. So I took my shoe there, and he was like, "You've had these in storage for a while, haven't you?" And I was like, "Well, to be honest, I'd sort of forgotten that I had these shoes, and then I found them and I wore them." And he was like, "Uh-huh." And then he took the other shoe where their sole hadn't come off, and I said, "It's sort of, there's a little crack here." And he was like, "Rip," and pull the whole fucking thing off. And he was like, I'll glue this back on for you, but I don't know how long it's going to last. But so these guys, they fix shoes, and they charge like, for this pair of shoes, they're going to charge me $7 or $5. Like they're not in it for the money. They just charge just the bare fucking minimum to keep the lights on. But so anyway, that was a pretty cool festival that we went to. It's
and what's the name of it again?
Maritxu. And the chu is in Basque. The ch sound is TX. So it's MARI, Mari, TXU, Maritxu.
Maritxu. Little Mary.
So, little Mary.
Little Mary wants to drink. I hear her talking, don't know what to think. We go up the hill with Jesus at our side. We drink the Rhine and then slide. If you're not careful, you'll lose your soul.
And then smoke a bowl.
I'm too exhausted from COVID to be able to be too sharp here.
So that was an interesting thing that happened.
So you were at your sister-in-law's pad, huh?
Just for that night.
With
I guess 2 nights.
Just your daughter, or where's your son?
The kids. So this time when we went, my kids slept at my in-laws' house, and my wife and I slept at my sister-in-law's house. And my sister-in-law had a male friend that was there. I don't know if he can officially be called a boyfriend, but he was there too, and got to meet him. He seemed fine, and then we came back.
Did they go out with you?
Yeah, and then we came back the following day, and so that was 2 weekends ago. And then a week ago, my parents arrived.
Wow, how sweet!
And my father, for the first time in a while, was feeling pretty good. Like normally, he gets off the plane and is like 4 days just weak and miserable and good for nothing. But this time he was like, alive and awake, and he attributed it to a rather than take pills for motion sickness, he had a little patch that he stuck behind his ear that gave off a drip of whatever prevents motion sickness.
So that's why he's so weak and distressed, because he gets sick.
Actual causality is unknown, whether it's jet lag or whatever. But this time,
that's a lot of things.
I've never seen him as young and chipper as he was this time. And his last time he visited, his shoulder was giving him a lot of trouble, and it turned out he had like a microfracture in his replaced shoulder joint, something, and was kind of miserable for that. But this time he was a lot better.
He got a new one because of that.
He's like on his fourth one, but yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. But
fourth one in the same shoulder?
Same shoulder. So, but he was way better. And then this past weekend, my in-laws came over and we all went, the 8 of us. When my parents visit, our 5-person car doesn't fit all of us, which kind of sucks. Like, we can't fit all 6 of us in the car, so we can't really go anywhere together unless someone else with another car comes, and then we can. So my in-laws came on Saturday afternoon, and then on Sunday morning we all went to celebrate my mother's birthday to a local city, Santander. And I had booked a restaurant that turned out to be amazing. That was nice. But upon arriving in Santander, or just before we arrived, my father, who was in the passenger seat with me, started feeling dizzy and car sick. And when we finally parked, he was not okay and had to sit down for a while and just wasn't feeling well. And we like left him. We walked for a little bit, and then we left him on a bench, and we walked some more to see an art gallery or something. We didn't actually like tour the gallery, but we went near it. And we came back, and he was like, I don't know if I can make lunch. Why don't you just like take me back to the car and let me lie down? And so we did that. And like on the way to the car, he puked several times, and wasn't feeling good at all. And so anyway, we ended up leaving him in the car park, in an underground car park. We lay down the back seats of my. It's sort of like a station wagon. Lay down the back seats, and he lay down back there. We left the door open, the trunk open, and he spent several hours there, listening to this very podcast.
He was sick. That's probably, you got the story backwards. That's probably what made him sick. And so
he said, he wanted to give, listener thanks to, he wished there was an easier way to comment on podcasts because he would have done that. But, rather than send an email or something, he talked directly to one of the hosts. And
how many episodes he listens to? Most of them, doesn't he?
I don't know how many he was listening to for those 2 hours.
So what did he? Was it something more than motion sickness, or just?
No, I think it was a bit of the jet lag after 4 days coming home to roost, and when you get properly motion sick, it takes a while for you, at least for me. You have to lie really still for hours and hours to finally feel okay.
Yeah.
And I'm on the less severe range.
So did he perk up?
And then we made it. We drove back home, and he went straight to bed, and then he spent sort of the next day in bed. But now he's more or less perked up. So
they're still there.
Still here. They're going to be here for another week. So.
Oh, what a thrill! Well, good. Give them both my love and happy birthday to wonderful mother.
Yes.
I called her and talked to her a couple of weeks ago. I called to talk to Paul. He wasn't there, and so I ended up talking to her probably for longer. I've talked to her in years.
They're actually asleep in this bedroom right back behind me. So anyway,
are they in bed already?
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. It's way late.
Yeah, here. He's known as early to bed.
Early to rise. Yes. 8-ish. So it's weird that we have dinner here at like 8:30, and then 9 o'clock is about the earliest you can go to bed here. But
that's late for him.
Yeah. So that just some listener feedback I'd like to share with you.
Sure.
That our antics kept him alive in his near-death experience in the back of the car in the parking garage.
That's kind of what we're after.
Yes,
we call it resuscitative dialogue.
Resuscitative dialogue.
We've often referred to it that way. If you're feeling bad, don't be had. Listen to us, and you'll be glad.
Yeah, don't die yet. Dennis has another story to tell.
Yeah,
is what I always say.
Yeah, and no shortage of those. Oh, so I have a COVID story from the fishing trip, but you need to tell me more about. I think you had another. I just felt that you had another vignette to share.
Well, I was so today, this afternoon, he comes to me and is like, suggest something for me to watch on TV. He says, I don't have HBO. And I'm like, oh okay then.
Wow.
And so I went and I pulled up Mayor of Easttown.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, check this out.
Good choice.
My what I started watching for the first time in a long time. I had 45 minutes to myself to consume television, and I watched the first episode of a Netflix show called The Watcher. And the general premise is it's a wealthy but living at the end of their budget New York couple that buy a nice house in the suburbs that like is all that they can possibly afford, and they've got 2 kids, and the husband is like hoping to make partner at the firm, and it turns out that the neighbors are all like super creepy, and there's this like really creepy vibe, like scary sort of sense about the house. And I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, I could watch more of this. Especially, I don't think it's supernatural scary. I think it's like psychological scary, which is my jam.
Yeah.
But since they've been here, my mother has watched the whole first season. And
of The Watcher?
Yeah. And like sometimes she's watching it with headphones on on the couch television next to me while I'm working. And sometimes I hear her like gasp or like and I look over and it's just people talking on the screen, but it's this psychological sort of fuck with your head.
Your dad would like American Rust as well. That was
wasn't that Showtime though? That wasn't HBO. I feel like that was Showtime.
You're right. I'm watching. I'm keeping up with American Gigolo, which is surprisingly good, with a woman from Gretchen Mall, who did you watch? What was it? The Empire?
No.
Boardwalk Empire?
No.
Oh. Well, then never mind about Gretchen Mall. She was in that in Fabulous. And then remember I told you that I'm going to stick with House of Dragons and just hope
that
it gets good. Well, it kind of got good. Still some gaps in the logic of the plot, but so much better. And I remember telling you that I hoped when they switched actresses to get to the older version of the main actress that it would be a step up. And in fact, it was when the new actress took over. And it's interesting because they've updated the characters by 10 years at a time. And so the actors are changing quite a bit, although the older ones. But here's an example. There's this one guy, they've shown it now, where people have aged 20 years, and the king, who was robust, has now died as a leper. Spoiler alert. But some of the actors haven't aged at all. And it's sort of like, how do you not take care of that? How do you have a boy who was 5 in the last episode who's now 15 and so different that you have a new actor, so much older that you have a new actor, but you haven't taken a moment to age one of the recurring characters? Not a hair. It's unbelievable to me. It's
yeah, that kind of sloppiness is kind of
when they're spending so much money
right.
on fucking dragons, for Christ's sake.
Indeed. Yeah, the like some of the shows that I like I've mentioned before, I listen to a podcast about every episode of Breaking Bad. Of Better Call Saul, and the same people that made Breaking Bad, and they talk about, like, they have one person on staff that makes sure that every reference to a previous thing is exactly right in the script, and they when they go to, because they're doing this super complicated thing of shooting a prequel to a thing that they shot 10 years ago. And they have to try and replicate the light from the street lamps, how it casts shadows on this particular neighborhood. And just like looking back at old footage and trying to replicate exactly this world, because they know that these days in modern television watching, there are nerds out there that are pushing their glasses up on their nose and be like, well, actually, this didn't match the.
And did you see the series that's been ordered into a second series with Bryan Cranston? Your Honor.
I mean, obviously, we talked about Your Honor. I didn't see that they're going to do another one.
Yes.
Oh,
Season
God.
number 2 starts this fall.
Didn't we really pan that shit hard?
Oh yeah, we tore it up. It was
horrible
ridiculous
piece of shit that was.
The lack of logic in the plot was ridiculous. Bryan Cranston, as great as he is, could not. What we wondered about was how somebody as smart as him could live with it. The inanity of some of the stuff. And I don't know.
We've kind of dug our own.
Ryan. Just say your lines. Shut up.
Not unlike characters in Breaking Bad, we've sort of dug our own graves here because we sort of have to watch the second season, don't we? At least the first few episodes.
The come on for it is interesting.
They call it a trailer.
I mean, it's I'm
come on.
Come on. What did I say?
It's called a trailer.
It's shot. No, they live in an apartment in New Orleans. Still, they don't live in a trailer.
Okay. Well, come on then.
You hear the train and blowing. You hear it?
I do. Coming around the bend.
Oh, so when I went to the Salmon River and fished.
No. Went to Salmon River.
My buddy, give a shout out to Brett Falso, who's this talented singer I've talked about many times after I get back, and he invited me to play with him at the as it turns out now, the annual Salmon Festival, which I happen to be there now on that Saturday.
I have a question, sir. Brian Falso, Falso?
Brett
Falso.
Falso. Falso, yes. Is that a strange name or what?
Well, I mean, in Spanish, falso means like a liar.
I would imagine it would.
I mean, it means false.
Even I could figure that out.
Yeah. So,
but he's a tremendous singer. But he.
What did Brett claim?
When he got there, we had corresponded, and I called him. We talked, and he said, "Oh man, I knew this was about the time of year you're going to be here. You know, I'm playing down at the Altmar Hotel. You can join me, right, on Saturday." I said, "Yeah." And as it turns out, last time he was first up, which meant the crowd was sparse. This time the festival started at noon. He didn't play till 4, so by the time he got there were a bigger crowd and appreciative. It was cold though and rainy. But he said, "Listen, I don't want to bring you up too soon. I don't know how much blues I have. I don't think I've got a whole hour of blues." I said, "Well, I don't have to play continually. Just let me know." Well, this year, I don't know what happened. He never played any blues. He had me play harmonica, which people enjoyed, and we had a good time with it, but none of it was actual blues. One of it was, some of it was like hillbilly shit, and some of it was more country, and,
hillbilly shit.
It was all like, quite playable, and people enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, I haven't called him since. I'm going to talk to him. I say, "Look, I really want you to play the blues." So he's got like a 400 song list.
Right.
And I don't know, it was just we didn't do any pre-planning. And
there's your problem right there.
What's that? It was fun. But I want to tell him just anything by B.B. King will work. Let's just start there. But that was a blast. My brothers were all there. Oh, so I'm there, and my brother, younger brother, Timmy, I'd say, "Listen, man, we get out of the river 2-3 o'clock, been fishing all day." And he said, "Well, let's just go back to the barn where we live and, get showered up, and I'll bring you back, to play with this dude because the festival's running." I said, "All right, well, I'd like to be back here." He starts at 4. I'd like to be back here by 3:30, do a mic check, all that. He says, "All right." So we get there, and I see Brett and shake his hand. "How you doing, man? Been a year, blah, 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 blah." I said, "Well, listen, I'm going to go get sounded up. Here's my sound man." So, "All right, let's do a mic check." We get it all up. Luckily, I brought a couple of mics, so one of my mics didn't work. But this year, I brought my blues blaster. I brought 2 other mics. I brought my cords, my harmonicas, of course. I had a backpack full of equipment. And got that all blaster set. Went to the bar. My brother says, "I'll buy you a drink." I said, "Great. What do you have?" I said, "Well, it's cold out. I think I'm going to drink scotch instead of beer. Give me a scotch." All right. He orders a double. I get a double. I'm drinking it.
Sure.
Go outside and come back in. And he said, "Well, when are you playing?" I said, "It's going to be a while." So I had another double.
Uh-huh.
I had a double. He says, "Wow, he said, you going to go up there and play in a minute? I'll go ahead and get you another one so you can go up." So I had another double.
They call that a triple double.
Got done drinking that double, and it was a very appreciative crowd. It was loud, and they'd been drinking since noon. And the more they drank, the better we sounded, of course. And I packed all my stuff up and went into the bar, and there's my brother, my older brother, sitting at the bar. And I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Let's have a drink." So I ordered some more scotch. So then my other brother, my third brother, he comes in, puts his arms around us and says, "Come on, man, we're doing a group picture across the street on the wooden steps of the fly shop in the hotel called Salmon Outfitters. So we're going to be under the sign." And, all right.
Yep.
I grab my scotch and go, and make a long story long, which we got nothing but time. I end up what did I do with my bag?
I was wondering. You said I grabbed my scotch, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
So this effect, false memories, of course, is exacerbated by having what essentially is 8 shots of scotch in an hour and a half.
Uh-huh.
And what I remembered was I left it at my brother's feet, who was sitting at the bar, and I was standing next to him.
But then he moved his feet, and now his feet are in a different location.
He moved his whole body because we left the bar. When I came back, there was a dramatic potential altercation. For the first time in all of our trips, there was a potential altercation where this man, who, as it turns out later, was only drunk, but probably had mental health issues, he was getting into it with one of the guys that I fish with, and they were getting loud. And I thought, well, they're going to hit each other. That's how loud they were.
Right.
And then my brother, my youngest brother, who's got a bit of a temper on him, as we all do, he got involved. And this guy started bugging him. And at one point, I interacted with him. And when I went up, I said, oh, well, this is going to explode. I went to the bar, said to the bartender, it was a woman, you got to get the bouncer over here. There's going to be fisticuffs. It's going to happen right now. They call a bouncer over, and then you got 2 bouncers and 3 female bartenders, wait staff, all crowding around where these guys are starting to, push and shove a little bit. And after that subsided, I said, oh, wow, that's crazy. And it was hot. People get heated and they get angry, and it changes the whole tenor of your evening. And it wasn't okay. I mean, it was like, oh, fuck it. I'm ready to go home. It's turned into kind of a odd thing, and
all this negativity, man. It's like
the dude was still outside, and they kicked him out of the bar, but not off the property. When I tried to walk in, I said, excuse me, man, I got to get inside. He stepped in front of me. And I said, listen, bro, I really just got to get in the door because I didn't want to, push him out of the way or touch him.
Right.
And the bouncer, one of the 2 bouncers, was still talking to him. And this time I said a little bit more firmly, I said, brother, I've got to get by you, so you need to move to the side a little bit. And he turned around real slowly and looked at me with these drunken kind of googly eyes. Yeah. And he started rubbing his hands all over my chest. And I said, to make sure that it didn't escalate, get your fucking hands off me. And the bouncer looks at me and says, don't do that. And I said, you're telling me not to do that? You tell him not to do it. Let me tell you something. Your job is to get him off the property. I got 3 brothers in here. We're all leaving. There was an altercation inside. If he's still here, there's going to be trouble. I guarantee you. And I went in the bar and I went, all right, I'm going to grab my bag. No bag.
It wasn't there.
$2,500 worth of equipment, including every harmonica, every key in my old box, my beautiful box, my sewing box that
No, your box.
All broke in. All of my Jews harps.
No.
Not to mention hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dollars of cords and microphones, which I can always replace, but the harmonicas were replaceable.
All of that DNA that you left in those.
Yes. And, I said to the barmaid, blah, 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 and she's like, well, just give me your name. It's not back here. And I just immediately went into a kind of mantra of there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
You dumb shit.
Yeah.
And, and this just proves that your baptism didn't work. You were born damned. Your baptism didn't work, so you're still damned. So this is what you get because you're still damned. Because you remember a few years ago I told you about my giant fishing gear that was stolen with every fly that I had been saving up for all my trips to Alaska and Wyoming and Montana. Everything was stolen, pulled out of the back of a truck that apparently didn't lock. And I was damned then, I'm damned now. And I was very kind of,
that river.
what am I going to do? It is what it is. C'est la vie. And I'm like, I'm done. I was depressed about it.
You're bringing me down, bro.
Went to a couple places where I stood and thought, no, I left it there. I remember I had it on my back, bumped into a woman, and I remember setting it down. 9:00 at night, they wake me up. This was 4 or 5 o'clock. I played. I was in bed by 8. I had to get up to go to my plane at 3:30 in the morning.
Jeez.
9:00, I get a phone call, and she says, "Got your bag?" I said, "You got to be kidding me. Is it full?" Because good news is I found the bag. The bad news is it's empty.
Right.
Everything was in it, including my freaking dental floss, which was just a way to check. If the dental floss was there, I knew everything was there. Keys to my car.
That's the first thing I would take is the dental floss.
I knew it. You're so clean. Keys to my car, blah,
Jesus.
blah, blah. And I realized, in hindsight later,
yes,
when we went to go take that picture, I did grab my bag.
Fuck.
And when we went to the end of there was a pole barn, a giant shelter where the band was, and there were picnic tables and heaters.
Pole barn.
And at the tail end of that, way in the back of that, and way in the back was where my brothers all congregated to go get this picture taken. I remembered then setting it on this picnic table that was turned up, on its side, kind of as a wall, and patting it. I remember this the next day.
Of course.
Patting it and thinking it'll be good right here. I can see it from where I'm getting the picture taken. I forgot all that. I didn't forget it. It was
But it was still there, but it wasn't recallable at that moment. Memory is such a mystical bitch.
Well, and I don't know. Is there any evidence, any research anywhere that says that copious quantities of alcohol affect your memory? Have you ever heard that? I think we should do a study.
I read some, but I was drinking and I can't remember. So.
You can't remember. You cannot for the life of you remember what it is.
Brief anecdote about since we've spoken. I went to a conference in Spain, and this time, for the first time, in previous times I've gone to a conference, and then after the conference is over, I've had my wife fly out and we would do some tourism in the location. We did this in India and Russia and some other location that I'm blanking on. No, not Croatia. And Taiwan, like far places. But this time, the conference organizers are friends of mine, and they told me, hey, all of the usuals that we hang out with, they're all bringing their partners this year. And I was like, well, I'll bring mine. So we went together, and it was the first time that she saw me give one of my talks live in the audience. And she had tons of feedback.
Did she think it was weird? I mean, did it feel strange for her to see you in that environment?
Yeah, for sure it was weird for her to see her doofus of a husband in receiving so much respect from other people. I think that was weird for her.
It in any other aspect of your life, right?
So it was like, you mean these people care about what he says? That's weird.
What do they know that I don't know? Because you've never said anything particularly interesting.
Exactly. So there was that aspect.
Very good looking. Why did I marry you?
But it was. That was kind of fun, and she got to attend the after parties that we go to, which is where the real fun is. But there was this year they did this thing where they booked this after party at this exclusive discotheque sort of place. It was outdoors though, and like it cost us like $25 each to get in. But once we were in, the conference organizers had these little tickets that were worth one mixed drink at the bar, and they handed one out to each of the attendees that came, and like two to some of the other speakers, and then to me they were like, "We got these left over. Here, have 20 of these." So we basically had an open bar at this place that was playing. It's this sort of like sort of disco music that
I like that.
That sucks when you're sober.
Yeah.
When you're sober, it's like, what is this nonsense? But when you're not sober, it's kind of like, I can get into this. And
the vibe.
And so
carries you.
Yeah. So we had a lovely late night there, just dancing the night away.
How nice!
In this warm weather location, so that was lovely.
Oh, this sounds great. That sounds great.
One other quick anecdote about this trip was we had to leave home at 5 a.m. and my kids and my in-laws were going to come take care of the kids, but they were going to come around midday to take care of the kids. So the kids had to get themselves to school on time on this weekday. And so at 5 a.m. we woke up my eldest, my daughter, and said, "Okay, you're going to stay awake, right? You're not going to go back to sleep. You need to wake up your brother at the right time and then go to school, and he needs to go to school at this right time, and you know how to make breakfast, and you're going to do all this." And they were like, "Yeah, okay, we can do that." And everything went fine, except when we were at the time that my son leaves to go to school, we were on the plane, on the tarmac, on the runway, ready to take off, to leave. And I got this text message from my son saying, "I can't go to school. It's raining too hard. I don't have an umbrella." And we were like, well, fuck. So we thought, let's see. And my wife suggested, tell him to look in this closet over here where I think there's an umbrella. And he did. And while we were thinking about what to do, he was sending us photos of just how it was pouring down rain. And it was where we were too, at the airport. And he wrote back and said, "Okay, found an umbrella, going to school, bye." Oh. So like he didn't want to use this as an opportunity to, because we had no recourse. Like we were on the plane,
right,
leaving.
He was honest about it.
It didn't occur to him to be like, they can't do anything to me, so I'm gonna not go to school. But so
would he be one who would know to take a garbage bag and cut a face holes in it?
We the other opportunity was just be like, well, run, you're gonna get wet, go to school, because it's only it's only wet all day. It's only like 100. It's like 100 yards to school. Like,
well, you get drenched. You're in drenched clothes if it's pouring that hard.
True.
The garbage bag thing, man.
Anyway, it worked.
Maybe your wife would have thought of it.
Well, certainly I wouldn't have.
Because you're beyond the pale.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that she heard you talk. That's
yeah. She had a bunch of body language tips about.
Interesting.
Like I move my hands a lot, like I'm Italian or something. Just but anyway,
she's thought too much.
Yeah, too much.
Huh. Well, it's interesting. I think animation is good quality of speakers.
Yes, I don't want a speaker that just stands there, but
there's a balance.
Maybe you need to choose the moments when you elaborate with a hand gesture.
What I like to do when I talk, and because I don't much use notes, I usually write 5 or 6 words down on a piece of paper.
Right.
And every word reminds me of a 15-minute monologue that I can handle.
Right.
So I go back to the podium every now and then, but I always use the lavalier mic, and I move up and down the stage. Sometimes I go right out into the audience, particularly if there's somebody out there who's not paying attention.
Yeah.
And I go stand next to the person who's not
like
paying
you, listener. We see you.
I couldn't do this anymore. But back in the day, I would put my hand on the person who wasn't listening.
Yeah, you've mentioned this.
But you couldn't do that now.
You have to ask for consent.
But right.
Excuse me, ma'am. May I touch you?
May I rest my hand on your bald head, sir? I told you the time I was using a laser pointer on the big overhead screen in the giant auditorium.
Yeah.
And there was a guy up in the back who was reading a newspaper, and much to the delight of the students, every now and then I would go and I would shine the light
up his
newspaper on the newspaper. and at one point I said to everyone, I said, "Watch this," and shook it up and down on the newspaper. People thought it was pretty fun. I wanted to keep doing that, but there's
a limit to just how much of an asshole you can be.
Well, this has been great. I got to go.
I think we're at the limit of how much of an asshole we can be. So,
yeah. Hey, it won't take you 10 minutes to know that you're going to be hooked on the affair.
Yes.
10 minutes.
I'm going to have to tell my wife that I have an affair. So.
Yeah. Well, you'll like it. You'll like it a lot.
It sounds way too much up my alley. So, thank you.
And we're gonna have to talk about this effect, this memory effect. I'm gonna find the
word,
the review that I read that was all about that.
If you email it to me, it might be in the show notes for this episode. Okay. Otherwise, wait for next.
Okay, I'm just going to walk away. All right, I forgot. I almost cut you off.
See ya.
I have to go through all that crap.
Okay, that's it for episode number 163. There are lots and lots of show notes at happyhour.fm/163. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour, where we would love for your donations. And if you support at the Gin Martinis level, you can watch videos of this nonsense. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.